Part number P165, port-side tailplane with elevator from the 1930s aeroplane constructor set. Hi folks and welcome back. As I unpack the house after moving, I seem to have a new hobby, collecting flat, packed cardboard packing boxes. And as you know, you have to collect all of them. I have a goal that I will have very little left in the loft when I've unpacked. It was one of the things that made me frustrated with my mother. She never threw anything out. So when it came to emptying her house, we were coming across things that she'd kept for decades. Christmas cards going back over 50 years. Pencil stubs, and yes, she even had a tin. Bits of string too short to be useful, too long to throw away. And as I researched this script, it occurred to me that this is not an unusual thing. And as I unpack the boxes, I'm faced with the awful truth that I'm very little different from my parents, both of whom could not get rid of things. But even as a society, we don't get rid of the old. With poor town planning, we call it historic. We put plaques on buildings because somebody famous once stayed there. We laud old cars because they are classics. And none of these things are bad things. After all, we need our history. It's very, very important. If for no other reason than that of reminding us where we have come from and what's happened before. Because we know our history, then just maybe there's a better chance of not repeating the mistakes again and again. And as a species, we're very good at doing that. If you ever wondered why we're good at doing that, it's because it takes 80 years of hard work to reset society, to get it to stop making the same mistakes. And on the whole, society can't be bothered to do the work. So it takes a lot longer. But in the end, we can and do change our behaviour patterns. Well, some of them. I still miss having sugar in my tea, and right now I don't have a chocolate biscuit with a mug of tea on the desk. I'm in the post-Christmas state of I've eaten far too much rubbish for nearly 2 weeks and I need to get a grip. And talking of getting a grip, this fairground ride had me puzzled while I was doing the research for a script. I was trying to find a base model to refer to. That's one of the reasons why the aeroplane scripts are always such a pleasure to write, because normally there's loads of data, little stories to be told about people who did things when things needed to be done. And today I'll be telling the story of inventors, steam-powered flying machines, and I mean aircraft, not amusement park rides, and why we love to be terrified. There are 3 names that spring to the top of any search regarding this type of ride. 2 Americans and 1 American-born British citizen, so technically 3 Americans, but the last one we're claiming is a Brit. They are Lee Early, Harry Travis and Sir Hiram Maxim, with Sir Hiram being the first to invent a ride, Early and Travis going on to be so much greater. So let's start with the basics. Why do we like being scared? Known as vain or voluntary arousing negative experiences. It's fun. In its basic form, you're getting very, very high. The brain is releasing some pretty groovy endorphins, and of course, our all-time best friend, dopamine. The sensation you're getting is an almost opioid-like high, a sense of euphoria that other people get through certain man-made chemicals. And yes, the surge of fear is just as addictive as the stuff others snort, inject or pop. If you're seeking fear, you are a junkie. But we're not here to judge. And also, it's perfectly normal. Your brain is seeking to push the boundaries in a way that is safe. In other words, you want to fall, but you also want the safety net under you. You want the experience, but not the consequences. That's why amusement park rides are always trying to outdo each other. The trap door ride, where you fall through the floor, but end up safe at the bottom of a water slide. The roller coaster that pushes you through crushing G-forces, while throwing you left, right, and going up and down. But in the end, you get off, and all is safe. Another option is connection with others. In fact, the idea of taking your date on a fear-inducing first meet is advice that was given, and still is given. It's meant to induce a snuggle-up moment, as the person being terrified leans in for support and comfort. And while this might make a great way of making a connection, it also makes a connection that you can never sustain long term. Because your foundation is based on seeking fear, not one of common ground and stability. Long term, the relationship will fail because the flaws and weaknesses will override the thrill-seeking, junky high of searching for fear. Unless, of course, that's your foundation of stability because that's your common ground. And along with the travel, making a bucket list, research, and sheer enjoyment of each other's company, good lord, this gets complicated quickly. The other thought with fear and being scared in a controlled way is curiosity. Most of us lead very safe and secure lives. Contrary to what the news media likes to portray our countries as being, most of us are safe. But we need fear. We need to know the monster is out there. So to get that, we make things that make us scared. Freud called it Thanatos, from the ancient Greek meaning death. We seek the boundary between living and not living to understand. That's why base jumping, wingsuits and free climbing attracts a certain person, and many of us have a morbid attraction to the events. But here is the warning. If you choose to take your date on a fear-inducing first meet, make sure that you've checked their personality well beforehand. Because on the whole, extroverts enjoy fear and introverts do not. The former live in a do it now, enjoy it now, forget it and look for the next great thing. The latter like to savour the thing, coming back to it again and again in their minds. So you might just make the wrong connection. Unless our introverted date loves fear, and then all is okay with the world. I talked at the beginning of steam-powered aircraft. Sir Hiram Maxim, better known for the invention of the machine gun, carried on his father's work in aircraft design. His father designed a helicopter with twin counter-rotating blades, but at the time was unable to find engines with enough horsepower to power it. Sir Hiram opted for fixed wing and steam power for his aircraft. It was 40 foot long, around 12 metres, with a 110 foot wingspan. That's 34 metres, or the same wingspan as an Airbus A320. His engine was intended to be a naphtha-fired 360 horsepower steam engine, which would power two 17-foot diameter laminated propellers. Naphtha, which was an early distilled petroleum product, was widely available in the 19th century. This four-winged monster was to weigh in at 3.5 tons and was tested in ways that were new, cutting-edge science, including wind tunnel testing on models. The main way of testing the aircraft for lift in flight was a powered whirling arm, and oh boy did this thing lift. In testing, though, it nearly became a disaster, and Sir Hiram gave up on the idea, stating that better power-to-weight engines were needed. And while he was building his aircraft, he also designed and built the first fairground ride for flying machines. Sir Hiram Maxim's captive flying machines were first shown to the public at the Earl's Court exhibition in 1904. Early health and safety stepped in, as Sir Hiram wanted to add basic aerofoils to allow the pilots of each aircraft to control the pitch of the flying machine. It seems that when this was banned, he lost interest in the project. The ride is still there, albeit now at Pleasure Beach in Blackpool, over 100 years old. It's one of the first truly fear-inducing rides. And if you get a chance, it's worth going to, if for nothing else than just seeing the first. The ride inspired the work of Lee Early and Harry Travis, who went on to do so much with fairground rides, and has provided one of the foundational building stones for our love of being terrified, albeit in a controlled manner.